What if the loudest thing you ever said was silence? What if instead of texting her back, pouring your heart out, or trying to win her attention, you vanished, calmly, completely, and unapologetically? Would she miss you? Would she regret walking away? Or would she forget you ever existed? Here's the brutal truth most men never hear. When you chase, you repel. When you speak too soon, you surrender power. But when you become still, when you detach, evolve, and refuse to break, your absence starts to speak, louder than any words ever could. This isn't about mind games. It's about reclaiming your center, about becoming a man she can no longer access, no longer predict, no longer manipulate. A man who walks away not to hurt her, but because he finally values himself more than the illusion of connection. This is the story of that man. A man who loved deeply, was torn apart, and then, without saying a single word, became unforgettable. If you're done being the broken one, if you're ready to rise from the silence, hit that like button. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I rise without words. Number 1, withdraw to win. She expected you to fall apart, to blow up her phone, to scroll her socials, watching her stories like a ghost with a broken heart. That's the pattern she knows. That's the man she thought you were. But here's the shift. You're not reacting, you're removing yourself. Withdrawal isn't weakness, it's strategy. In a world addicted to attention, silence is terrifying. And when it comes from a man she thought she had wrapped around her finger, it's devastating, because withdrawal is the art of reclaiming power without confrontation. It's the quietest form of war and the most effective. Understand this. Her ego was fed by your presence, your messages, your availability, the idea that no matter what she did, you'd be there. She took that for granted. But now you've done something she didn't expect. You cut the signal. You vanished. Not in rage, not in sadness, but with brutal surgical precision. This is where Stoic philosophy becomes your weapon. The Stoic doesn't chase what is outside his control. He doesn't beg fate to be different. He accepts the loss and then becomes better than the man who once needed her. You don't withdraw to hurt her. You withdraw because you've finally understood your worth. And here's what makes it burn. Your silence leaves a vacuum. She'll feel it in places she didn't expect. In moments when she's laughing with someone else and suddenly remembers you haven't reached out. In the quiet hours of the night when she checks her phone and still nothing. That's when it begins to sink in, that your presence was a privilege, that she mistook constant access for permanence. This is the first phase of making her miss you without a single word, becoming a mystery where there used to be reliability, detaching where you used to cling, not with bitterness, but with clean, emotionless distance. Because now the question isn't, will he come back? It's, why did he leave so easily? Number 2, detach from outcome. You can't lose what you no longer cling to. That's the heart of detachment. The moment you stop needing her to feel whole, to feel validated, to feel seen, that's the moment she starts to notice the shift. Because now your energy is no longer orbiting her. You've broken gravity. Detachment isn't about pretending not to care. It's about actually not needing the outcome to define you. That's what drives her mad with curiosity. When you no longer seek closure, when you don't ask why, when you don't look back. Suddenly, her sense of control begins to crumble. Stoicism teaches that we must separate what is within our control, our actions, our mindset, our choices, from what isn't, her feelings, her decisions, her return. And here's where dark psychology kicks in. Humans crave what's uncertain. When you're no longer predictable, you become interesting again. When she can no longer read you, she starts searching for signs. That's why detachment is the most attractive energy there is. It's rooted in power, not coldness, but calm. You're no longer emotionally available to be manipulated. You're not posting thirst traps. You're not showing off your healing. You're simply gone, but thriving. And that drives her insane in the silence. Think of it like this. When she ended things, she expected resistance. She expected tears, texts, maybe even desperate apologies. But instead, you accepted the loss. You leaned into the void. And now she's alone with her decision and the growing fear that maybe you didn't care as much as she thought. That's the paradox. When you let go, they start holding on tighter. But only if you truly let go. No half measures, no watching her from the shadows, no wishing things were different, just full, disciplined, stoic detachment. Because when you no longer need her to come back, that's exactly when she starts to wonder if she ever truly had you. Number 3. Level up in silence. She expects you to fall apart, to vanish into isolation, stagnant, stuck in the same place she left you. But instead, you evolve. Quietly, relentlessly, with no announcements, no updates, no cries for attention. You disappear from her world and reappear in your own, stronger than she's ever seen. Pain becomes fuel. That's the stoic way. You don't avoid the heartbreak, you use it. You let it burn through weakness, excuses, and dependency. Every time your mind drifts back to her, you redirect it. One more rep, one more book, one more win. This is how you rise, not with noise, but with action. Dark Psychology 101. People obsess over those who improve without them. It creates an identity crisis in their mind. She expected your world to stop spinning. But now, she hears whispers. You're building muscle, you're moving differently, your energy shifted, and she wasn't part of it. That eats away at her, because while she was expecting you to unravel, you became a version of yourself she barely recognizes. Not in spite of the breakup, but because of it. That's power. That's stoicism in motion. You don't talk about healing, you embody it. You don't perform growth, you live it. But the real twist, you never post about it. No gym selfies, no "I'm doing better" tweets, no inspirational quotes. You don't owe the world or her proof. You just upgrade, in silence, in solitude, in total control. And that control is magnetic. She'll wonder what changed. She'll check your profile. No clues. Just a clean digital absence that feels louder than any highlight reel. And in her mind, the questions begin. Is he over me? Was I holding him back? Did I misjudge his worth? That spiral begins, all while you remain calm, focused, untouchable. Because the man who levels up in silence is the man she can't stop thinking about. Number 4. Emotional neutrality. Nothing drives her crazier than your indifference. Not hate, not love, not anger, indifference. Because emotional neutrality isn't numbness, it's control. It's the power to feel without being ruled by feeling. And once you master that, she loses her grip. She may test the waters. A subtle like on your story, a random message, a mutual friend casually mentioning her name. She's fishing for a reaction. But you give her nothing. No spike, no drop. Just calm, just stillness. That's emotional stoicism. The man who no longer rides waves, he becomes the ocean. This is where most men fail. They either lash out or latch on. They either chase or attack. But when you do neither, you break the cycle. You show her that she no longer has emotional access to you, that she doesn't control the thermostat in your soul, and that makes you powerful, unreadable, desired. Dark psychology shows us that people are addicted to emotional validation. If you once gave her emotional highs and lows, and now give her nothing, she starts to crave that spark again. She starts replaying moments in her head just to feel something. That's how you take up space without ever being there. Your neutrality is not weakness, it's authority. It says, I am not defined by your presence or absence. It says, you no longer have the keys to my reactions. And when you're calm, composed, and unmoved, you force her to question everything. Was she ever as important to you as she thought? Or did she mistake your kindness for neediness? This is emotional discipline at its highest level. You're not acting cold, you're simply untouchable. You've built emotional armor from the fire she left you in, and now when she throws sparks, they burn out on contact. No reaction, no return. No relapsing into old patterns, because you've learned that your peace is more valuable than her attention. Number 5. Reclaim the frame. She told herself the story that you weren't enough, that you were too much, that she had to find herself, and maybe for a while you believed that story too. That's over now, because the most powerful thing you can do after heartbreak is this: reclaim the narrative, rewrite the frame, own the truth. Here's the harsh reality. People leave when they feel like they have the upper hand, when they think their version of the story will define the breakup. She walked away thinking you'd be the wounded one, the one still explaining, still apologizing, still hoping. But now, your silence says otherwise. She sees no pleading, no explanations, no "I just want to talk." You've taken the high ground, and that high ground isn't lonely, it's commanding. Because by refusing to participate in her story, you create your own. And in that new story, you're not the broken man. You're the man who adapted, elevated, and detached. Stoicism teaches us to control our perception. You don't let emotions cloud your reality. You see the breakup for what it is, a redirection, not a rejection. You shift your frame from loss to liberation, from victim to architect. And that shift, it echoes, not just in your actions, but in the silence that surrounds them. Now here's where dark psychology slips in. When she sees you no longer chasing, no longer stuck in her orbit, it destabilizes her identity. You were supposed to need her. Instead, you became immune to her. That loss of influence, it hurts more than words ever could, because you didn't just walk away, you erased her power over the narrative. She's no longer the one who left, she's the one who lost a man who didn't flinch, and the story she told herself starts to break. Maybe he wasn't weak, maybe he outgrew me, maybe I misjudged him completely. You didn't have to say a word, you just changed the frame and let her feel the silence that followed. Number 6. Let reputation speak. When words stop, your reputation starts talking for you. And make no mistake, she's still watching. Not always directly, but through friends, through glances, through silence. And every move you make now either confirms her decision or makes her question everything. You don't need to tell her you're doing better. You show her without even trying. Not through bragging, not through performative success, but through the quiet consistency of becoming undeniable. You let your progress speak where your voice used to plead. This is stoic confidence, not loud, not flashy, just real. You don't need revenge, you don't need attention. Your results are your response. You get sharper, fitter, calmer, more focused, and all of it radiates without a single word aimed in her direction. Here's what she doesn't expect: you moving on gracefully, not spitefully, not in bitterness, but in strength. And that grace, that discipline, stings, because now she has to sit with the reality that the man she walked away from became more valuable in her absence, that maybe she gave up on a man who was just getting started. Dark psychology teaches us this: people regret what they can no longer influence. So when she sees your growth, your glow-up, your social presence tightening, your energy cleaner than ever, and you're still silent, that mystery becomes unbearable. She starts asking mutuals. She stalks without liking. She wonders if you've met someone else. All because you said nothing. Because you didn't try to convince her. You just let your new standard of living rewrite how she sees you. Let her ask the questions. Let your reputation deliver the answers. Number 7. Harness mystery. Mystery is magnetic. It's human psychology. What we can't see, we obsess over. What we can't predict, we chase. And right now, your silence is creating a storm inside her, because she no longer knows who you are, or what you're thinking. See, she used to read you like a book. She knew when you'd text. She knew what would make you jealous, what would pull you back in. But now, you've gone dark. No updates, no posts, no reactions. You're a closed loop. A man with no signal, and that silence starts echoing in her mind. This is strategic stoicism. You aren't hiding, you're guarding. You've stopped broadcasting your pain, your healing, your progress. And by doing so, you force her to wonder. Every time she checks and finds nothing, it fuels the fire. Where is he? Who is he with? Has he changed? Did he forget me already? And the beauty of it is, you're not doing it for her, you're doing it for you. Because you understand now that privacy is power, that energy conserved is energy redirected. You're no longer performing, you're no longer explaining, you're simply building in the dark. Mystery disrupts certainty, and without certainty, people spiral, especially the ones who thought they'd always have access to you. That's the mind game she never prepared for, the emotional maze created by your silence. No clues, no cracks, just distance and discipline. And here's where dark psychology seals the deal. The more she obsesses over what she doesn't know, the more attached she becomes to the idea of you. Not even the real you, the unknown you, the upgraded, unavailable, unreadable version that her mind keeps trying to reconstruct. That version, that's the one she starts missing. Let her wonder, let her imagine, let the silence speak louder than any message ever could. Number 8. Self-respect is seductive. There's nothing more attractive than a man who refuses to chase what disrespected him. A man who doesn't fold, doesn't beg, and doesn't break just to be seen. That's real self-respect, and it's magnetic. Because when you draw the line, you don't push her away, you pull her in. She might have expected you to hang on, to linger in the background, hoping for breadcrumbs. But now your silence isn't just absence, it's a boundary, a clear, powerful message that says, you don't get to hurt me and still have access to me. And that boundary, that's what makes her rethink everything. Self-respect is rare. Most men crumble after rejection. They plead, they apologize for things they didn't do. But when you don't do that, when you walk away with your dignity intact, you become different, dangerous, desirable. Because now she sees a man who chooses himself over the need to be chosen. Stoicism is about inner worth, not seeking external validation. You've stopped trying to prove your value to someone who failed to recognize it. You've started treating your energy like currency, invested only where it's reciprocated. And that refusal to chase is what makes her feel your absence like a void. Dark psychology confirms it. Boundaries create desire. When you become a man who has standards, who doesn't respond to breadcrumbs, who doesn't entertain half-effort energy, you become a challenge. And challenges are irresistible, especially to someone who once had easy access to you. She'll test it. She'll try the subtle return, a comment, a memory, a late night, hey. But you won't bite, because you know now, if she doesn't meet your standard, she doesn't get your presence. And that level of restraint, that's the ultimate seduction. Self-respect isn't revenge, it's clarity. And it's the quietest, most powerful way to make her miss you without a single word. Number 9. Live like she's already watching. She might not be texting, she might not be liking your posts, but don't get it twisted, she's watching. Maybe not directly, maybe through friends, fake accounts, or quiet curiosity, but trust this. When you disappear, right, they always circle back to look. So what do? You live like the spotlight never turned off. Not for her, but for you. You move with purpose. You carry yourself like a man who's already being observed, because in a way you are, and every silent move you make becomes part of the narrative playing in her head. This is where stoicism becomes performance, not for applause, but for principle. You keep your routine tight. You keep your mindset sharp. You stay disciplined, consistent, evolving. You act like every room you walk into, every rep you hit, every decision you make is being watched, not out of paranoia, but precision. And here's where dark psychology flips the switch. When she sees your life improving without her, when she hears about you from others and sees you unaffected, she starts to feel it. Regret, doubt, intrigue. Because you're not performing to make her jealous, you're simply living like a man who outgrew her absence. No petty posts, no passive-aggressive captions, just quiet moves and undeniable progress. That's what haunts her, that she left thinking you'd spiral, and instead you sharpened. She imagines you waking up early, locked in, focused, at peace. And the crazy part, you are. This mindset changes everything. You're no longer trying to win her back. You're building a life so solid, so magnetic, that if she did come back, she wouldn't even recognize the man standing there, because he doesn't need her anymore. And that, more than anything, will make her feel the loss. So live like she's watching, not for revenge, but because greatness doesn't need an audience. It just needs momentum. Number 10. Never break silence. First, this is the final move, the one most men can't pull off, the hardest truth to live by, and the most powerful. You do not break silence first. Not out of pride, not out of ego, but because the one who reaches out first gives away the frame, gives away the power, gives away the mystery you've worked so hard to build. Silence is a test, and the moment you speak first, you fail it, because she's waiting. Whether consciously or not, she's watching to see if you'll fold, if the silence will break you, if you'll go back to being the man who chased. But now, you're done proving yourself. This is pure stoic control. You've realized that your peace matters more than closure, your progress matters more than reconnection, and unless she earns her way back into your life with real effort, not just a casual, hey, she stays outside the gate. Breaking silence is handing over the script. It says, you still affect me. It says, I couldn't hold the line. And that's not who you are anymore. You've become the man who holds frame under pressure, who resists temptation, who understands that sometimes the loudest statement is staying completely still. Here's the twist. If she does reach out, and she might, you still don't jump. You don't drop everything. You assess, you observe, you stay grounded, because silence wasn't just a tactic. It became a standard. And that standard, that's your protection. That's your filter. It ensures only the genuine can reach you now. Dark psychology confirms it. The person who breaks silence first is seen as the one who lost. That's how the subconscious works. It doesn't process logic, it reads energy. And your energy now says, I'm not waiting, I'm building. That's the energy that haunts her. That makes her question her decision. That makes her miss you more with each passing day. So hold the line, stay quiet. Not because you're bitter, but because you finally learned that your silence speaks more powerfully than your words ever could. You didn't chase, you didn't beg, you didn't explain. You walked away in silence, and in doing so, you became unforgettable. Every step you took, withdrawal, detachment, leveling up, emotional control, holding frame, guarding your mystery, reversed the power dynamic. Not with manipulation, but with mastery. This wasn't about hurting her. It was about healing you, about evolving into the kind of man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel valuable, the kind of man who knows that presence is a privilege, and not everyone gets a second chance at it. You became rare, you became solid, you became stoic. Now she's wondering, watching, replaying everything in her head, searching for signs of the man she used to know. But that man is gone. In his place is someone colder, wiser, sharper. A man who didn't need revenge, because evolution was the revenge. And here's the truth. You never needed to say a single word, because silence, when rooted in discipline and self-respect, is deafening. And if she ever comes back, she won't be coming back to the man she left. She'll be crawling toward the man she never thought you could become. You don't just make her miss you, you make her wish she never lost you. If you're done waiting, if you're done doubting, if you're ready to live like a man with nothing to prove, hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications, and comment below. I became the man silence built. This is Stoic Blessing, and this was your rebirth.